A big Ericsson welcome to this Radio Tech Day 2021. This is the 5th edition that we've held and the second one that's been online during the pandemic. We do hope that next year you will be able to join us again at our R&D centres in Krakow and Łódź. We do miss you being here. We aim for the Radio Tech Day to be the largest Polish 5G mobile technology event. It's designed so that our engineers can demonstrate their innovation and designed so that they can get closer to you, our customers, so that they can collaborate and bring new features to market faster to help your business. This year, we have representatives from all mobile operators, from the government, the regulator, academia, partners, industry, and Ericsson employees. So welcome all. My name is Martin Mello. I am the head of Ericsson Poland, and it's my pleasure to host this Radio Tech Day together with Stefan Znarowski, head of Ericsson R&D for Poland.
I'm really honored to host you from our R&D office in Łódź. Really welcome to this event. Maybe a little bit of history. I don't know if you remember, but we started in 2017 in Krakow. It's already quite some of history, and I remember this day because we did first ever 5G demonstration in Poland. So this was quite a memorable day for us in Ericsson. And maybe a little bit of statistic. We managed to do 56 demonstrations during Radio Tech Days, so it's quite impressive number. You had a chance to talk to almost 100 of our engineers, and we really appreciate this dialogue because this helps us to develop better features. We had also 16 speakers on the stage of Radio Tech Days during 2017 to 2020. But I think it's time to present what we have this year.
Yes, and as usual, Stefan, we will be splitting the event into two parts. We will have one part which is the keynote speeches, which we'll start with, and then we'll move on to the technical demonstrations. So we're going to try and make this as interactive as possible today, and although we're apart, we'll try and feel together. The keynote speeches will start with the president of UK, Dr. Jacek Okul, and will be followed by Mr. Manfred Neuhauser, Strategy Development Director for Miller. And we'll conclude with Christian Leon, who is head of Radio Access Networks for Ericsson in Europe and Latin America. And Stefan, this year we've decided to have a theme for the keynote speeches.
Yes, it's 5G for industry. I think this will be of interest for our guests. I think this industrial application, they will make a big difference with 5G compared to the previous mobile generation. So I think this is quite hot topic right now. But I think we are talking a lot about 5G. Maybe you can tell us what is going on around the world with 5G.
Yes, let's have one slide, Stefan, to talk about this. And you remember it was 30 months ago when 5G first kicked off. It was South Korea, it was USA, yep. Same day, in fact, and it was Ericsson yep. Technology that launched that. So what's been happening in those 30 months? Well, today, the map behind me shows what's been happening. Each orange dot shows where there's a live 5G network. And there's 176 of those around the world today, of which Ericsson's contributed to 98, making Ericsson the largest contributor to these 5G networks. Now, when we first started with 5G, and just before, we were worried would there be devices. And we see today there are over 900 5G devices for your customers to use. Where 5G has been deployed widely, and South Korea is a good example, we see a tremendous take-up. 55% of all traffic in South Korea is over the 5G network today. And if you want to look at the future in telecommunications, there's no better place to look than the Ericsson Mobility Report. And here we're showing that 48% of 5G subscriptions will be there in 2024. The circles you see on the map behind me, the larger blue circles are where Ericsson's 5G non-standalone is deployed, and the smaller circles are where Ericsson has 5G standalone deployed. There are 9 of these around the world, and momentum is growing. We have 33 Ericsson spectrum sharing solutions worldwide, and we have over 400,000 massive MIMO radios deployed. And Stefan, when it comes to market share, the numbers have been updated just recently, and Ericsson is now number 1 in Europe, and excluding China and the US, number 1 in the world. So we're making good progress there.
Yeah, that's really impressive. I mean, the speed how 5G is taking on the market, it's really impressive. I think we can't even compare it to the previous generations. So this looks really good. But I think our audience would like to know more about our local Polish market. Can you tell us what was Ericsson doing during last year, since the last Radio Tech Day?
Yes, I mean, since the last Radio Tech Day, we're still waiting for the 5G spectrum to be launched, but we've been busy. And we've been busy with our partners, with our customers, and collaborating. And I really appreciate all the innovation work that we do together. And I list a few highlights here that we've made with press releases recently. I start with Plus, the 2600 megahertz TDD network. We achieved a Polish speed record of 1 gigabit per second on this 5G network recently. With Play, we were one of the first in Europe to have 5G carrier aggregation using Ericsson spectrum sharing. And a few weeks ago, we announced an extension of the collaboration with Play for nationwide modernization and 5G rollout. With Orange Poland, we've been working on innovation with industry. And we announced the first 5G factory with Miller in Poland together. And with T-Mobile, working in the core network, we had Europe's first commercialized, containerized MME. And this is a component that's essential for distributed core and 5G SA in the future. Orlen have been the first enterprise to own their spectrum, and we have a 5G proof of concept working now. And we're very pleased to extend the collaboration with Łódź Special Economic Zone and their 5G lab together with Orange Poland, which provides the ability for startups and enterprises to test new applications that are dependent on 5G. Now, you all know that Ericsson has 4G and 5G production in Poland in Tczew, and the volumes have doubled in the past year as we supply 4G and 5G radios and basebands all across Europe. And Stefan, I understand that our R&D is expanding also.
Yes, indeed. We are growing. We are known in radio software domain, but we are also developing core network. And in this area, we will grow. So we are recruiting talent, building teams, and expanding our involvement in the packet core. So this is really good for us that we expand our involvement in Ericsson products here in Poland. I think it's worth to mention that we have this pandemic, but this didn't influence our speed of our deliveries. You mentioned about the hardware, but also in the software domain, we deliver even more right now than we did before the pandemic. So this is really impressive how we can do it. It's really important for us to work close with you, our customers. And in the areas like AI and machine learning, this is utmost important to work closely, because we have to develop a solution together. Those are smart solutions, and we are doing this in Poland with 2 of our customers, with Polkomtel and Play, and we are really proud of it. in our R&D, we have a customer centricity in our DNA. So our engineers are working with customers not only in Poland, but also around the world. And they are very eager to work closely with customers because this helps them to develop better solutions and also innovate. As you mentioned also, Martin, we are not forgetting about our local and wider ecosystem. So we involve our engineers with helping with the development of 5G use cases. And this we do, as you mentioned, with special economic zone in Łódź. And we also have 5G campus on Politechnika Łódzka. So this is a really good environment to innovate 5G solutions. But I think right now it's a time to invite our first guest.
Yes, let's start with the first keynote presentation today. And this will be from the president of UK, Dr. Jacek Olkul. And Dr. Jacek has pre-recorded this video especially for Radio Tech Day and will be here in person after the video finishes for a question. So let the video roll.
Dzień dobry Państwu. Witam wszystkich Państwa na 5. edycji konferencji Radio Tech Day firmy Ericsson. Pierwszej niestety w formie online, miejmy nadzieję, że ostatniej. Chciałbym dzisiaj przedstawić pewną wizję, jaką Urząd Komunikacji Elektronicznej planuje dla uzupełnienia pasma działań związanych z techniką wdrażaną, miejmy nadzieję, już w przyszłym roku, czyli techniką 5G. Mam nadzieję, iż nasza wizja spotka się z Państwa reakcją, odzewem, na co bardzo liczymy. Szanowni Państwo, wdrażamy dzisiaj, planujemy wdrożyć, operatorzy już wdrażają rozwiązania związane z techniką 5G. U podstaw techniki 5G leży dużo rozwiązań, dużo nowości. Jest to ewolucja i rewolucja za jednym razem. Natomiast ja bym chciał spojrzeć na tą technikę z punktu widzenia 3 prostych słów, pojęć, wręcz parametrów. Są nimi niskie opóźnienia, wysokie przepływności i wysoka gęstość, czyli miliony urządzeń na metr kwadratowy. Jak to rozumiemy, Szanowni Państwo? Wysokie przepływności są związane przede wszystkim z bardzo efektywnym wykorzystaniem pasma, łączeniem pasma w duże bloki umożliwiającym agregację usług i oferowanie usług na bardzo wysokim poziomie i o wysokiej jakości. Miliony urządzeń, oczywiście gęstość tych urządzeń powoduje, że jakość transmisji musi być bardzo dobra, ale jednocześnie proszę zwrócić uwagę właśnie na aspekt cyberbezpieczeństwa. Jest to bardzo istotne, by transmisja była poufna, bezpieczna, czyli z wykorzystaniem pełnej triady bezpieczeństwa, o której mówimy już od kilku lat, a bardzo wysoki nacisk jest kładziony właśnie w technikach 5G. Niskie opóźnienia. Zwróćcie Państwo uwagę, że jest to oczywiście jako użytkownicy komercyjnych rozwiązań zwracamy uwagę przede wszystkim na niską latencję i niskie opóźnienia dla streamingu, dla usług związanych z rozrywką. Ale w tym obszarze bardzo ciekawe jest i bardzo ważne, a jednocześnie niezbędne jest zachowanie niskiego opóźnienia ze względu na ich zastosowanie w sieciach prywatnych i przemysłowych. W tle mamy autonomiczne rozwiązania. Jeżeli sobie wyobrazimy autonomiczną linię produkcyjną, autonomiczne systemy transportowe na terenie przedsiębiorstwa, czyli autonomiczną, automatyczną logistykę, opóźnienia, przewidywalność, stabilność i połączenie niskich opóźnień i stabilnych niskich opóźnień jest jednym z najważniejszych elementów tej techniki. Gdzie dzisiaj jesteśmy? Jesteśmy w przededniu aukcji 5G i o niej dużo już powiedziano i dużo jeszcze pewno będziemy dyskutować w jej trakcie. Natomiast zwróćmy uwagę na to, że 5G to są jeszcze dodatkowe pasma. Po pierwsze w paśmie w C-bandzie mamy jeszcze 70 MHz przeznaczonych na tak zwany blok 0 oraz 26-28 GHz, czyli bloki po kilkaset MHz. Do dyskusji jeszcze, jakiej wielkości te bloki będą. Właśnie ją rozpoczynamy. Przy okazji pragnę zwrócić uwagę na to, iż mamy jeszcze planowany być może się to ziści. Są to prace badawcze CEPT-u, który w 2024 na koniec roku może przydzielić dla właśnie takich rozwiązań dodatkowe pasmo, zresztą bardzo interesujące, 3800-4200 MHz. Jak pomyślimy sobie, kto tu się winien stać odbiorcą tych bloku zero, wprost widać samorządy i przedsiębiorstwa komunalne dla wysokich, czyli mikrofalowych częstotliwości, wręcz prosi się, były to firmy. Popatrzmy jednak na to, że z wszystkich tych grup mogą skorzystać w różnych kombinacjach, w różnych wariantach właśnie wymienione przeze mnie podmioty. Czy rozwiązania w Europie są takie same wszędzie? Nie, różne wizje, różne pomysły. Są kraje, które nie bardzo widzą wykorzystania tych pasm lokalnych dzisiaj. Są to m.in. Węgry, Malta, Austria i obszar nadbałtycki, Litwa i Estonia. Niektóre kraje chcą przeznaczyć inne pasmo. Słowacja i Norwegia są tutaj doskonałym przykładem. Natomiast większość jednak próbuje łączyć rozwiązania z oferowanymi przez ogólnokrajowych wertykalnych operatorów i budować całe piony. Pytanie, czy to jest jedyne możliwe rozwiązanie. Chciałbym tu Państwu pokazać jeszcze kompleksowość, do której również dążymy, czyli jak wygląda to w krajach, które są najbliżej wizji Urzędu Komunikacji Elektronicznej zorganizowane, jeżeli chodzi o sposób i jakość wykorzystania tych pasm dedykowanych właśnie dla przedsiębiorców głównie i samorządów. Po pierwsze, zwróćmy uwagę, że te pozwolenia są dawane w małych obszarach i zróżnicowane do niskich i średnich mocy. Czasami, jak na przykład w Niemczech, wystarczy podać wyłącznie jedną daną związaną z najmocniejszą i najwyżej położoną, czyli najbardziej emitującą, wpływającą na otoczenie stacją. Ciekawym jest również, iż obowiązek wykorzystania częstotliwości jest zamknięty, czyli leciutko mamy do czynienia z ograniczaniem kolekcjonerów częstotliwości. Masz sieć, będziesz ją uruchamiał, masz na to określony czas. Musisz w tym czasie wystartować. Oczywiście ważne będą porozumienia z operatorami, bo jak inaczej takie usługi świadczyć. Ceny dla wszystkich zawsze najbardziej fun, najbardziej sexy, ale pytanie, czy rzeczywiście jest to bardzo wysoka cena. Zależy od obsługi administracyjnej, od bloku, lokalizacji, czyli widzimy tutaj duże pole do swobody i działania. Na jaki czas można pójść ścieżką Wielkiej Brytanii, przyznawane bezterminowo, ewentualnie odświeżane, lub na zamknięte okresy czasu, jak w Niemczech, na 10 lat. Co jest najbardziej atrakcyjne w tych rozwiązaniach, to by zmniejszyć dużą obsługowość, czy ludzki udział w aplikowaniu. Aplikacja mailem, aplikacja poprzez narzędzia elektroniczne. Bardzo ciekawe rozwiązanie planowane w Wielkiej Brytanii to jest wprowadzenie dynamicznego spektrum, dostępu do spektrum poprzez centralną bazę, która będzie uruchamiać się w momencie uruchamienia stacji, będzie ta częstotliwość zdjęta z dyspozycji, lub w momencie zakończenia automatycznie będzie wracać do puli i praktycznie następnego dnia będzie mógł skorzystać z niej inny przedsiębiorca lub członek samorządu. Na co warto uważać jeszcze lub o czym warto rozmawiać się? Czy można będzie, czy warto, by to było współdziałanie, by częstotliwością dysponował więcej niż jeden użytkownik, jedno przedsiębiorstwo, wówczas mamy jeszcze lepsze wykorzystanie pasma, a o tej efektywności będziemy dyskutować. Pojawia się za to dużo pytań, jeżeli mówimy o Polsce. Rezerwacja czy pozwolenie? Jaki tryb administracyjny? Jak długo? Bezterminowo odświeżając, czy 10, 12, 15 lat? Kto będzie upoważniony? Czy jeden podmiot, wiele podmiotów, konsorcjum, grupa, właściciel gruntu? Ciekawa dyskusja. Jaki będzie najmniejszy fragment, o jaki będzie można wystąpić. Czy on będzie związany z jedną stacją, czy z pewną grupą usługową. Też warto dyskutować. Jak szybko po przyznaniu częstotliwości albo jak szybko po zgłoszeniu, uruchomieniu, przyznaniu ma wystartować lub jak najpóźniej ma być uruchomiona sieć. Jest to element bardzo ciekawy. Współużytkowanie, o którym mówiłem, chyba będzie bardzo trudne, ale może być bardzo atrakcyjne dla wielu przedsiębiorców, właścicieli centrów logistycznych, handlowych, stref ekonomicznych. Jest to w ogóle miejsce dosyć ciekawe. I to, co chcielibyśmy jako wizję zrealizować w Polsce, maksymalnie zautomatyzowany, uproszczony proces, by w zasadzie odbywało się to, można powiedzieć, bezobsługowo, z jak najmniejszym udziałem ludzi. Ludzie mają przygotować zakres i narzędzia. Firmy, to też oczywiście ludzie, mają z nich skorzystać. Po drodze chcielibyśmy wyeliminować element związany z przysyłaniem, dyskusją, analizowaniem. Jak wyobrażamy sobie to w dalszej kolejności? Przede wszystkim już po uruchomieniu aukcji chcielibyśmy uruchomić prekonsultacje, dialog z rynkiem rozumianym jako operatorzy oczywiście, jako społeczności samorządowe, ale przede wszystkim jako przedsiębiorcy. Chcielibyśmy poznać zdanie przedsiębiorców w kontekście współpracy z operatorami, w kontekście samodzielnych działań, jak widzą takie sieci, czy raczej jak widzą operatorów dla tych sieci. Jednocześnie chcielibyśmy trochę zmienić pozycjonowanie albo rozbudować, zmienić to jest złe słowo, rozbudować UKE, postrzeganie UKE nie tylko jako regulatora, ale również w tym kontekście wskazującego pewne ciekawe rozwiązania, dobre praktyki, a najbardziej te dobre praktyki i rozwiązania chcielibyśmy pokazywać, dyskutować w kontekście cyberbezpieczeństwa w ramach dobrowolnych rozwiązań klasy ISAC. Dziękuję Państwu. Dziękuję Państwu za wysłuchanie i spoglądnięcie sympatycznym okiem na naszą prezentację i mam nadzieję, jeszcze raz powtórzę apel o aktywne uczestnictwo w konsultacjach i prekonsultacjach, o których wspominałem. Dziękuję raz jeszcze.
Hello, Dr. Jacek. Great to see you.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today at this Radio Tech Day. It's a real honor that you present for us.
For me too.
Thank you very much for that very interesting presentation on 5G spectrum for industry. I think all of our guests will really appreciate that. Just one question, if I may, Dr. Jacek, and I picked up during the presentation, you mentioned millimeter wave, which is also very interesting for us. And how do you see the availability of the millimeter wave spectrum in Poland, and when can this be expected on the market?
Thank you for this question. It's very, very important for us. Later this year, we should start discussion with the player on the market and pre-consultations, I think. And next year, we will spend clarifying then our vision, how we try to organize this process. The frequencies I talk about during my presentation should be available to businesses, I think, in late 2021, early 2022. Unless, of course, in the course our discussion with the players on the market, a different version could emerges in this discussion, or we as a country are faced with the need to use these frequencies in different way. Especially that lockdown has changed many paradigms. COVID is absolutely decided about our reaction. However, I think, especially in the millimeter band, there are so many resources that there should be enough for all. I think absolutely all those willing to implement advanced solution based on 5G in this band.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks again, Dr. Jacek, for joining us for the presentation and kicking off our Radio Tech Day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
So, Stefan, over to the second presentation now.
Yes, our next speaker will be Mr. Manfred Neuhauser, Director of Strategic Development in Miele. Miele has the first 5G factory in Poland. So, hello, Manfred. Welcome to our Radio Tech Days, and we really appreciate that you accept our invitation. We are very interested how Miele is applying 5G in their factories. So, stage is yours.
Thank you very much for introducing me. Just a small addition to my introduction. To be honest, I'm not responsible for the overall Miele strategy, but just for the business unit laundry strategy. And therefore, Miele factory in Xaverov belongs to that business unit. And I support also Miele Xaverov in Industry 4.0 topics, and I'm the responsible project manager for the 5G acceleration program from the Miele side. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to talk about our experiences in Miele Xaverov by implementing 5G network. Therefore, I would like to take you on a journey from our vision to reality by introducing 5G to leverage the transfer into a smart factory. Shortly coming to the contents. First of all, I will make you familiar with Miele's and Miele Xaverov's vision for the 5G introduction. Secondly, what's the reality? What's the reality compared to our vision? And last but not least, short conclusion. What can we learn from our experiences for the further proceeding? The story began some years ago when we at Miele first discussed our approach for Industry 4.0. Miele is very well known being a technology leader for their products, but has also the ambition to be a first mover in the field of production and IT technology. So it was more than expected that we defined 5G technology as a key element to sustain our industry leadership. What we wanted to achieve and what was finally defined as our vision in that respect was to build up a smart factory. A smart factory consisting of a lot of puzzle pieces, which would have to be created in the next couple of years. So we defined a lot of enablers as must-haves beside the radio technology or 5G, such as cloud technology, smart sensors and actors, big data, image recognition, etc., to help reaching our goal. Above the level of the enablers, we placed a lot of emphasis on defining the right building blocks, such as cobots, autonomous transport solutions, drones, AI systems, digital twin, etc., and also defining the right use cases. That all was done under the umbrella of our vision to sustain our industry leadership by moving forward to a smart factory. As you see, fulfilling our vision is by heart a complex puzzle game. At that time, it was a lucky break that Miele Xaverov got the opportunity to participate in the 5G accelerator program, together with our partners, LSSE, Ericsson, and the mobile providers. So we began to select and define use cases best fitted to 5G. Our approach was to have in every field, the massive IoT, the critical IoT, and the broadband IoT, at least one use case. As a result of that opportunity, Miele Xaverov plays a decisive role within the Miele Group as a key supporter of Industry 4.0 strategy and as a decision maker for further proceeding with 5G technology. Now, after more than 2 years from the first discussions about 5G acceleration program with LSSE and Ericsson, we all have gained a lot of experience. We are on a good track, but the path from vision to reality has still a lot of challenges to overcome. I guess Miele Xaverov was one of the first companies in Poland which implemented a 5G network in an industrial environment. But we just have a non-standalone network, please remember, at that moment, due to some restrictions. Most important for us is that we are able to tap the full potential of 5G network performance and security and to get a deterministic service. So we have a clear goal to get at least a standalone or even a full private network. Therefore, we urgently need the finishing of the auctions of frequency spectrums and, to be honest, not just 3.5 gigahertz, but also in the 26 gigahertz spectrum, or even dedicated frequencies for companies as in Germany, to be able to get the benefits from the carrier aggregation. Fact is that this is delayed more than 1.5 years now, and it's a real obstacle for our progress to smart factory. A second challenge we faced during the project was, on the one hand, to find suitable solution providers for our puzzle game. As a consequence, for example, we couldn't implement use cases we wanted to do for autonomous transport solutions due to the lack of skilled startups. And when I talk about autonomous transport solutions, I really mean autonomous transport, similar to what is discussed with cars. We don't want to have more or less a HEV solution, which is available on the market since many years. So on the other hand, we still have the challenge to find pure 5G sensors on the supplier market for our selected use cases, for example. We have 2 use cases selected. One is for quality assurance with cameras above the assembly line, and we would need pure 5G cameras, which we didn't find yet. And the second use case is a VR solution for education, and therefore we would also need pure 5G VR Googles, which we also didn't find up till now. At that moment, we are able, due to this fact, or we are not able to connect these devices directly to the 5G network, what we wanted to do. My request here is that all partners contemplate together ideas how we could drive the supplier market. What we also learned of the 5G installation on our premises is that the SIM card management is not as easy as it should be, and that the commercial models dealing with thousands of sensors and therefore also SIM cards should be reconsidered and improved. That would be more or less a clear wish I would like to raise for the mobile operators. The last challenge for us as Miele is to define when and where to use 5G technology. We didn't do this yet. What we did is to start 2 test applications, 2 test installations for 5G, one in Miele Gütersloh in the headquarters and one in Miele Xaverov. By the way, Miele Xaverov is head and shoulders above Miele Gütersloh and will play a crucial role in proposing the further proceeding for 5G technology for the whole Miele Group. So, let me come to my conclusion. Let me shortly summarize what, in my point of view, are the most important learnings. We have a lot of challenges in front of us, but we can make it a success when all partners, and I mean with all partners, the radio tech providers, the mobile operators, surely also the regulator, the solution providers, the supplier market, and we as a customer, as the industry, work closely together. Potentials are huge, but we need agreements which are strictly observed from all partners. And we should not accept delays anymore. Otherwise, potentials are unachievable, and especially Poland falls behind other European countries. To be honest, 2 years ago, I was very proud as against my German colleagues, because Poland at that time had a lead over other European countries. But in the meantime, we lost a lot of ground due to the frequency or the not available frequency spectrums. Last but not least, Miele has to find its way between the more observant approach of the headquarter and the anticipatory approach of most of our production companies, especially of Miele Xaverov. I'm convinced with the experiences we already made and what we already achieved and what's before us, we will prevail. But we need all of you. We just can achieve this together. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Manfred. Really appreciate that you shared your experiences with us. Maybe a question to you. Xaverov is quite close to the place where we are here in Poland, close to Łódź. Why you have chosen this factory in Xaverov in Poland?
Yeah, to be honest, reasons why we decided to introduce the 5G at our Miele factory in Xaverov are diversified. First of all, we had that great opportunity to participate in that acceleration program exactly at that time when we need it. Secondly, we have here in Łódź a fantastic, unique infrastructure. I can say this. We have with LSSE one of the best economical centers Europe-wide, and we have a great technical education in Łódź also. And very important for our 5G introduction, we have the R&D center of Ericsson here. And Ericsson always gave us a very, very good support. And I don't speak just for me, also my colleagues, and also the colleagues, my colleagues in the IT in Gütersloh got a good education in that program from your managers, and that we really appreciate it. And third, and as an Austrian guy, I'm not German, by the way, it's easy to claim it, the special attitude of the Polish society. You are really very innovative, ambitious, and open-minded for new technologies, and technically high-skilled people. And to be honest, last but not least, Miele Xaverov is far enough away from our headquarters in Gütersloh, if you know what I mean with that.
Yes, thank you very much, Manfred. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I think, Martin, right now is the time for our third speaker.
Yes, let's conclude these keynote speeches, and I would like to welcome Christian Leon, Head of Radio Access Network for Ericsson in Europe and Latin America. Welcome to the stage, Christian.
Good morning. I hope you hear me well, and thank you for having me. As Martin highlighted, my name is Christian Leon. I'm heading the technology team at Ericsson in Europe, Latin America, for everything related to radio and enterprise. And so what I plan to cover in the next few minutes is to give you an update on what is happening for 5G for business. And I think you've heard from the previous speakers about the topic also, but I think the highlights I want to bring is 4G and 5G for industry is very much, I would say, up and running in many different production capabilities. I want to illustrate this use case, but also come back on what is so unique about 5G, why 5G from the start has been designed for industries, and what does that mean in terms of technology like time-critical communication, and also the different standardization forum where it's being defined. So that's what I want to cover. And I will also talk about the topic of a private network, why I would say 5G for industry in some cases is also done in a private setup, and what do we see globally in terms of trends. That's what I want to cover. Okay, getting into what's happening out there, switching slides. 3-4 years ago, a lot of the discussion were proof of concept trials. What can you do with 4G? What can you do with 5G? And what type of use case advanced connectivity is bringing into the enterprise? I think this is the past. Today, if you look at all these announcements that we've done over the last 6 to 9 months from an Ericsson standpoint, it's very much in production. And so you have, if you look at the logos, you have the name of the partner, the operator that we're working with, and ultimately the industry and the enterprise that is benefiting from advanced connectivity for 4G and 5G. And so a lot of the use case is in mining industry. You see Boliden here. We have, like, the case here is typically you bring 4G and 5G connectivity for like open pit mine, and then you move all of the like automated guided vehicle to move all the hauling out of the mine. That's one of the use cases. We also see this in ports, airports. We see this in like big utilities company, oil, gas, refineries, nuclear plants, where 5G and 4G is being deployed, and then obviously the case of factories. That's here and now. The use cases are very European-centric in the logos that have been an example I've been using, but it's happening around the world. So we see the same thing in the US, same thing in Japan, China, Korea, Taiwan, and Australia. So it's very much, I would say, an overall and global trend. Something that is unique about Europe is many different type of industry, and I would say many different ecosystem are being fostered in Europe, and that's good news. So a lot of, I think, innovation will come out of Europe, and we see this happening already. And then as we come out of the pandemic, a lot of state agenda, EU agenda is also around digitalization of the economy, and the idea of bringing the benefit of advanced 4G and 5G connectivity in enterprise and industry is very much in the table of many of the states and EU regulations. The last topic is also a trend, is industry spectrum. Many countries are globally carving out some part of the spectrum towards industries with the idea of saying, yeah, that will foster a faster adoption and a faster use of these advanced capabilities, 4G and 5G. That's very much what we see globally also happening also in Europe. What is so unique about 5G for industries? And that's two aspects that I want to cover here. The first one is very, I would say, techie, but it's so important is that from the get-go, 5G has been defined with in mind specific industry use case. It's very different than what we've seen with previous generations. And so one characteristic is what we call here time-critical communication. Typically a network in 2G, 3G, 4G has been defined with the idea of voice and mobile broadband. Mobile broadband is about saying, I'm going to push as many packets as possible, highest throughput, within a certain window of time, but it's not guaranteed. Well, when you look at a lot of the industrial use case, the underneath, I would say, characteristic that you need to be able to guarantee that the packet and the data is going to show up within a certain time window. And you need that reliability. That's what we call time-critical communication. To do this, you actually need to design your system. You need to bring different ways of managing the network characteristic. You trade off some aspect of coverage, some aspect of throughput, but with this, you're able to say this packet is going to show up within a certain window of time, let's say like 10, 20 milliseconds, with 5 nines, for instance, of reliability. And that's very important. And that's a key characteristic of the network, and I would say connectivity, that 5G is bringing into the industry. That's what we call time-critical communication. The second aspect that I want to highlight is the world of telecom does not understand the need of the industries. That's not what we're built for. We know, I would say, how to cater for needs to consumers. And so what happened with 5G over the last, I would say, 5 years is that a lot of different associations, a lot of different forums have been created within the industries. And here I have example of like drone traffic management, industrial automation, automotive association, live broadcast, media associations. And these forums are defining what is needed in terms of uplink, latencies, throughput, network characteristic, reliability, securities as characteristic. This is then being translated back into 3GPP, which is the telecom, I would say, standardization body, and carried back into like what we know, what like from an industry standpoint, telecom industry standpoint, like Ericsson, and then we bring this into the network. And that's the second aspect that I think makes this unique and why 5G can succeed with industries. Then if we take one characteristic that we also see is you can deploy 5G and create slices, use the macro network, but you can also create the benefit of advanced 5G connectivity in a private setup. And so the common reason that we see for choosing a private network, the first one is, I would say, resilience, security, and all the data is staying on site. The example I have here is EDF, Électricité de France. So it's nuclear plants where all of the networks are private, all the data stays local. And even if I would say the national infrastructure has some challenges, all the communications are resilient and will stay on site. That's one use case we see for creating a private network. The other one is the case of an airport. I think it's Aéroport de Paris in this case, where the airplanes show up at the hub, everybody is trying to move some data up and down. And in this case, the airplane and all like the data coming out of the jet engine, for instance, is trying to move into the network for like maintenance characteristics and things like this. It's so congested that in this case, you need to have dedicated capacity. And the way you do it is by deploying a private network. The final use case is more about security and having dedicated capacity, dedicated spectrum, so that you can guarantee time critical communication for a specific industry. In this case, it's automotive industries. That's kind of the common reason we see where a private network is deployed beyond, I would say, traditional deployment and macro networks. Then, what does that mean? I took the example of, I would say, a frame of a typical factory floor plan, and trying to illustrate what does that mean to bring advanced 4G, 5G connectivity. You have like inbound logistic, outbound logistic of like raw material, the products coming out. As a floor plan, you have the factory like chain where things are being produced. You have like business operations. You have quality control, for instance. You have like storage of the equipment. And then throughout the entire ecosystem of the factory floor, what you see is what advanced connectivity is able to bring. The simple use case is, I would say, tracking and asset monitoring. That's being able to know where things are and being able to monitor them. And then all the way to saying, now we can also bring video, for instance, and create digital twins of all the different assets, the different robots within the factories. And with this, brings all the use case of automation. So then you can bring automatic robotics, you can bring real automation with all the different robots that are working in the factories. That's, I would say, on the automation side. You can then also enable the different workers with augmented reality so that they are able to, I would say, bring a next level of productivity into the factory plan. That is an illustrative way. That is what I would say the disruption that 5G connectivity is bringing into a typical factory plant. Same thing into a mine, same ideas into a port, a harbor, a utility company, for instance. Then last but not least, and to conclude, is why I would say cellular connectivity is so fundamental here. And so you have the different lists. So if you digitalize, if you bring all of the data, all the sensors, all the, I would say, all the assets coming out of a different enterprise, what you can realize then is automation for all the robots, automated guided vehicles, like the example I brought up earlier. But then what you can also bring is connected workers. augmented reality, virtual reality that you bring as an asset towards the worker. Then you also have simple case of push-to-talk and voice communication, but that's what advanced connectivity is bringing on the factory floor. And so the key points that I want to bring here is, like 3-4 years ago, we were talking a lot about, I would say, proof of concept, ideas, trials. That's not the case anymore. 5G for industry, 4G for industry is being deployed. It's real use case. It's in production. It's picking up globally. Europe has a lot that is being done in a very good way. 5G is bringing unique capabilities that previous generation did not, and that other technology cannot bring. That's the typical example that I brought as time-critical communication. And then there are different ways to realize and implement this type of use case. You can do it through the macro network, you can do it with slices, and you can also do it in a private setup. The characteristic of why you do it depends. If you want resilience, if you want private, if you don't want any of the data to move out, that's how you then deploy a private setup, or you can do it with a different slice within a more macro network. And with all of this, what you bring is the promise of, I would say, a digitalized industry. That's what I wanted to cover today. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Christian. Really appreciate you joining us today and giving us that good run through of 5G for business across Europe. I've got one question for you, Christian, and it's a question that gets repeated when I talk to customers here in Poland regarding 5G for industry and private networks. And you touched on this during the presentation. And that is that we have network slicing that's being promoted with its own security and capabilities and throughput. And we've got private mobile networks. Are both needed? And when would enterprise use one rather than the other?
That's a good question. And you're right. I think this is a question that we hear repeatedly. And it's not about one versus the other one. It's about saying what type of characteristic that you want to realize. So if you think connectivity, which geography you want to bring what type of quality of service, throughput, latencies, securities. And then based on your needs, you can do this with a slice. So you take an existing network and you say, for instance, public safety slides, like nationwide, will be created for firefighters. Or you can go and say, no, for this specific factory, I have needs that it needs to be private. None of the data can move out of this, and it needs to be fully resilient. If something else happened to the network outside the factory, the network within the factory will still be able to run. In this case, it's private. So it's more about what use case, what type of quality of service level agreement you try to realize. And based on this, you have the different options, slice or private network.
Great. Thank you very much for joining us again, Christian.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
So now it's time to conclude the keynote speeches and move on to the demonstrations. So at this point, I would like to say thank you very much for everybody that has joined us for these keynote speeches. Now, we're going to move on to the demonstrations and share information on how this is going to work. So, what's the next step, Stefan?
Yes, our agenda for the demo session is divided into two parts. Let me introduce the first one and the second after the lunch break. The first demo session is, we have 4 of them, and each demo session is 20 minutes. It's important to keep the time. We are from telecom, so synchronization is important for us. So I think you all know that. Each demo is divided into 2 parts. First will be the presentation, and the second one, the time for question. We will start at 11 sharp, and at 12:20 we'll start the lunch break. You are all welcome at 12:50, where we'll start with the second part. Martin, what kind of practicalities we have for our guests?
Yes, let's talk through that, Stefan. So you will all be seated in front of your screens, and you will all have an Ericsson moderator and host for your demonstrations. You will be split into different groups, and I hope from the screen now you recognize your account manager or technical support or operations manager that will be your guide through the demonstrations today. Myself, I will look after the non-operator VIPs. Kasia Punk will look after media. As Stefan said, each demonstration will be for 10 minutes video, 10 minutes Q&A. And we do encourage you to interact with the engineers and learn from each other regarding their demonstrations. After that 10 minutes, the next demonstration will start. And as Stefan says, time and phase sync are important for us, so we will keep a strict schedule to make the agenda work well for us. You will also have the ability to give feedback for each demonstration that you've seen. And this is important for us to understand what you want to see for future years. So please do rate the demonstrations on how you see these. Our hosts and moderators will be in Łódź with the demonstrators, and we'll try to make this as interactive as possible. But Stefan, what demonstrations are we going to show today?
Yes, we have 9 of them, and 7 are coming from our engineers, which are working in Łódź and in Kraków. Maybe I will just pick a few of them which are quite interesting. Ericsson Silicon run compute and massive MIMO products. That's one of our products which we want to present to you. We are really proud of it. We have 3 very good solutions for the 5G. It's buffer-based ENDC setup, MIMO sleep mode with port merging, and automatic SL management. I think you will have a lot of questions to our engineers what those solutions can bring to you. We have one quite important thing. It's automatic GSM. I think we are celebrating right now the 30 years of GSM in Ericsson. 30 years ago, we launched first commercial GSM network. So it's a bit of history which we are celebrating in Ericsson this year. We have one demo with cloud-native policy management and a demo from wider Ericsson product, interface management in microwave networks. We also invited our partner, OmniView, to present 360 video live, which I think will be a quite impressive video. So I think, yeah, we have quite a lot good demonstrations, so I hope you will enjoy it. If you don't manage to ask the question during this time, 10 minutes, don't worry. We will have a time after we end the event. Our engineers will wait for you, so we will have a time to ask them. I think right now we are approaching the time when we should start our demonstration, yes?
Yes, we're now going to switch over to the demonstrations, and it's so great to see that 7 of these 9 are developed by the engineers here in Kraków and Łódź. So
yes, we are
real
very proud.
Experience behind the demonstrations, and it should lead for great questions and answers. And nice to see we have microwave included as well, and OmniView. Very nice to see how a 5G application is going to be working over the top of the networks that we're building together. So let's get the show on the road with the demonstrations, and now we're going to switch from this broadcast directly over to the first video for the first demonstration that you as a group will see. So on your marks, get set, let's go! I'll start. Oh, yeah, you start, yeah.
Hello, after lunch. I hope that you had a fruitful session with our demos. But let us a little bit go back. What took your attention from our keynote speeches? Can you tell us, Martin?
Yes, sure. I mean, the theme we had today on the keynote speeches was 5G for industry, industrial applications. So I thought the first presentation from Dr. Jacek Oko set the scene well, talking about how there will be industrial spectrum for 5G, this block 0, and that he recognizes this can be available for municipalities and for industries. And I noted that he was comparing which model to use, and the German model was there, the UK model was there, and these were considerations that I could see he was thinking about for the future. But of course, he invited collaboration and consultation to get there. But I think it can be interesting for mobile operators and interesting for industries, especially here in Łódź, where we've got such a good start here with 5G for industry. Which ones took your attention?
Yeah, I think the presentation from Manfred, it looks like we have created the right environment. We have everything ready. We can just probably switch on and try the things which were developed. But yeah, of course, we have to wait for the frequencies. But I think we are really in a good situation.
So he
here
mentioned
in
the
Łódź.
special economic zone.
Yes, exactly.
He mentioned mobile operators.
Mobile operators.
He
yes.
mentioned technology vendors.
Yes, startups.
Startups.
Yep.
Industries.
Industries.
Academia.
And the talents and people who wanting to innovate.
Yeah, he was very
we have
complimentary
everything.
about Polish skills, and I echo everything he said. I think it's a good position to be in, ready for that spectrum to be available.
Really, yep. That's true.
Christian Leon finished the presentations as well, talking about his perspective on 5G for industry across Europe. And some interesting themes came out of that as well, and not just the reasons why private mobile networks would be interested, but this question about network slicing versus private mobile networks. And his answer to that question was more that, yes, the network slices are going to be very important. A lot of effort's been spent into making network slices unique for 5G, given this end-to-end capability for security and throughput and capacity. But there will be cases when mobile networks, private mobile networks, will need to be kept on site, not just for deterministic services, dedicated capacity, but also to keep all the data secure, the data on-prem. So we'll see how that develops in the future, but I thought that was good insights. But looking onto the demonstrations, I hope that you all had a chance to see the first 4 demonstrations and you had some good interactions with the presenters. I attended 3 of these. We saw those together. And one that jumped out for me was this Ericsson silicon in the baseband and in the radios. And this is something that Ericsson's been working on for some time, I understand. And the fact that now having the silicon in the radio gives us the ability to have this real-time channel estimation. And this is needed for accurate beamforming. It's needed for this uplink booster interference suppression to make sure that the signal for the uplink is as good as possible, therefore giving the best coverage as possible. So I saw this was great technology and a great innovation, but real practical examples, because for our customers, it means that they can have a greater coverage per radio base station and in many cases keep a 4G grid for a 5G grid with very limited extension. So it can save the number of sites that are built. It clearly gives lower power with the ASIC in there. And it means we can get much smaller size and lower weight, meaning not so many towers need to be rebuilt again. So great technology, but super practical benefits for our customers, I thought there.
Yes.
Which demonstration did you like?
Yeah, for me, this MIMO sleep mode with port managing, because at first we have just MIMO sleep mode, and we could see that users could have some drawback in the performance. But with this port managing, we are not losing it. So our users, they will not notice the performance, and of course, the impact on the environment, that we are saving the power. So it's really important that we could switch it off when it is not used. And we have some other demos which also prevent unnecessary usage of batteries in the mobile phone, like this ENDC solution. So our engineers are really looking into it, how to make the impact less impact on the environment by saving the power on the mobile side, but also on the base station, on the network side. So I think this is really good for the environment.
So there are two examples of the power-saving features that we have, and there's a bigger collection.
Yes.
Maybe we can have a Radio Tech Day dedicated to power-saving features in the future.
That's a really good idea.
These are just some examples of the power-saving features that we have able to offer you, and maybe you can talk to your account managers and find out the full scope of what these are. I also saw the OmniView presentation, and it's impressive. It's great to show the technology behind the 5G networks or the mobile networks, but nice to see an application that's going to run on top of it, one that really needs 5G. And when you see this, if you haven't seen it already, I'm sure you'll be equally impressed. And this is a startup that's been working with Łódź Special Economic Zone and Ericsson, and they've got something really special that will provide great services for leisure, entertainment, businesses in the future. And once the 5G network is there, it'll be something, I think, big in demand.
For sure.
So, what about the afternoon session, Stefan? We're going to get started on the second half now. Is that correct?
Yep. Yes, that's true. And we will have a similar setup with 4 demo slots. We will start at 1 o'clock sharp. So I think you remember your hosts, so we don't have to repeat it. It will be the same. So I think we'll start shortly. But please remember, we noticed that we have to cut and start the new video between the demos. And maybe you didn't ask all the questions which you wanted to our engineers. So please remember that we have this closing word, and afterwards you will have this networking with your moderator, and our engineers are still here. So they are eager to talk to you, answer to all your questions. They are here for you. So please use this time.
Absolutely. And you saw we had 10 minutes for the video, 10 minutes for the questions, and then we moved on sharp. So I hope you're all familiar with that. We'll do exactly the same in the second half of the day. We had great questions in the sessions I was in. They were written in on Teams or through verbally or on video, and it is really great interaction. So I hope that continues in the afternoon.
Yeah, we really encourage you to talk to our engineers. They really appreciate the feedback from you on our demonstration, but also on our solutions. So please ask them as many questions as you want.
And it was really nice to see that some of our brightest minds here were talking directly to the professors from Łódź Polytechnica who were tutoring them previously. So there's a really nice cycle here where we can see how the great University of Łódź Polytechnica is producing such top engineers that now turn into top mobile radio experts.
Yep.
Really great to see. So we now will get ready for the afternoon demonstrations. There's 4 more for you to enjoy with your host, your account manager or technical manager. And Stefan and myself will be here at 14:20, as Stefan mentioned, and then we'll just have a very quick closing words. But then you have more time with your group moderator for any final discussions, any final questions that you may have that you've not had the chance due to this 10-minute window we have in the presentations. So with that, we are ready to start and switch over now to the afternoon demonstrations. Let's go. Hi again, and welcome back to this live broadcast. Well, this concludes the Radio Tech Day for 2021. And we had split the day into two parts. First, we had the keynote speeches and then the demonstrations. And maybe I just summarize the keynote speeches, Stefan. And for me, the essence of what I've heard today, we had the theme of 5G for industry. And we do believe that one of the major differences of 5G compared to previous mobile generation technologies is this 5G for industrial applications? We've seen that here in Łódź, Miele has the first 5G factory. And we know that from across Europe, there's a high demand for 5G private mobile networks, be that through latency, security, data privacy. But we also think that in Poland, that demand will be high here once the spectrum becomes available. And we heard that UK do plan to make that spectrum available for industry. We heard Manfred say that for this to succeed and the vision to become a reality, then we need the ecosystem to pull together. And that ecosystem needs to include mobile operators, equipment vendors, research and development, academia, startups, industry, and something like the Łódź Economic Zone that will pull all this together. And we have that right here in Łódź right now. So we invite all of our partners, all of our customers to work with us and join in making Łódź one of the first 5G cities in Poland to have this industrial 5G in the future. But Stefan, what about the demonstrations? We did ask our customers if they would assess the demonstrations. Do you have the results?
Yes, we have the results. So thank you very much for the rating of our demos. And we can only mention the top three one. No surprise, the best rated demo was automatic SL management. And I must say I'm not surprised because this is really, really a good solution. And I know that you had a very good discussion with our engineers and suggestion how to improve it, how to make it even better. So thank you very much for this. It's really, this event is for these talks with our engineers where they can improve our solutions and make it better. The second one, no surprise, OmniView. I think it's really good to see how we can use 5G. So this 360 view, it's really great. And the third one, automatic GSM. And I must say, maybe from the Bond movie, Tomorrow Never Dies. I mean, GSM never dies. It's 30 years, and this is really, really impressive.
It's great to see all mobile technologies being represented as that's what our customers are using to support their customers all across the network. And I was in the automatic SL management presentation, and really great. And talking to customers that are using it and finding ways to get the best out of the network. Good to see. So I would first of all like to say a big thank you to the organizers for this event. A special big thank you to all of the demonstrators. This is not their day job. These are software experts, but today they are doing videos, they are doing Q&A. They really appreciate getting closer to our customers, helping you make your networks better, to give your customers a better experience. So big thank you to all the demonstrators. And I would like to say a big thank you to all of our customers, all of our partners joining us for this day. We know you have huge, busy schedules, and we really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us and be with us, even if virtually, at our R&D center. So from a customer unit and an account management perspective, it's really nice to see those engineers get closer to working with our customers and bringing new features to market. How about from the R&D perspective, Stefan?
From R&D, we really appreciate this Radio Tech Days. We can meet with you. We can discuss the solutions. We can present what we are doing. Our engineers are proud of their solutions. So, this is really great event. And just after this event will finish, we'll start with to think what kind of demos we'll prepare for the next year event. So. They are really eager to meet with you and present what we are doing in R&D.
Yeah, I'd love to see the passion, I'd love to see the energy, I'd love to see how excited they are about presenting these, and they really do want to make the products the best they can and work with their customers in the best possible way. So they make us really proud, and great to see such young engineers young Polish engineers driving forward mobile communications. So, as we said at the start, we do hope that next year we're going to be together in person. So, we do wish you great rest of the day. Thank you so much for joining us. And we do hope that next year we're together in one of our R&D centers for Radio Tech Day 2022.
Thank you very much. Thanks.